Welcome to another episode of Fan-Made Games, and this week we're doing something brand new for the very first time, splitting an episode into two parts. I'm doing this for the fact that there are a lot of good and bad fan-made Mega Man games that I want to talk about, and splitting it up into two parts makes it easier for me to not want to kill myself. On that note, I am also very bad at Mega Man games, and I wasn't able to beat any of these games, but I did give them all a very long period of time, giving each game at least an hour or more of playtime. So I was able to check out all of these games very well, and I'm excited to show you guys some awesome Mega Man games, and share with you some of the other not so awesome Mega Man games. So, with that out of the way, let's hop straight into some fan-made Mega Man games. To start off, let's talk about a game that is a lot different than the rest, which is called Launch the Drake. A pretty simple game where you fly the Drake through enemies to try and reach the end of the level. And well, it's really not that great. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad game, but when compared to the rest of the games on this list, it's hard for it to stand up. The controls are the main reason for this distaste for this game, since it feels like I'm playing Flappy Bird in all the wrong ways. Unless you're holding the up arrow, your ship will slowly accelerate and plummet into the ground in a massive fiery explosion. But if you hold up for just a tad bit too long, you'll rush straight up into the sky, leaving the screen into a giant explosion as well. It makes aiming and shooting at enemies while doing this a bit difficult. Yes, with enough practice and time, you can learn your way around the controls and get used to it and have a fun time. I guess. If you're interested in what you see, I would say check it out. Just remember the controls are really wonky and hard to get used to. Next, we actually have a browser game, an online one at that too. Megaman RPG is an online game that feels a lot like Pokemon, to be truthful. It's a turn-based battle game where you control Mega Man robots and fight other Mega Man robots, each having their own attacks, weaknesses, and strengths. The game has 38 robots you can obtain for use in battle and 3 characters you can play as, or in Pokemon terms, 3 different trainers you can be. It's actually a really interesting game that has online leaderboards and a ton of people playing. Surprisingly, from what I can see though, you can't play against other people online, just play the over 1,000 dynamically generated missions. I thought it was a really cool idea having a Pokemon-style Mega Man game, since a lot of the Mega Man ideas fit well into an RPG-type game. Next up is Megaman Eternal. An interesting game for sure, but truthfully, the one I spent the least time with. I couldn't really get into it and found it too hard, like even harder than all the other hard games I played. Plus, the art style was just off-putting. I could tell there was a lot of effort put into this game, and I respect that for sure, but I don't know, compared to the other games, this one just felt lacking to me. Out of all of the levels in the game, I only played 3 before deciding to move on. First was the intro level, obviously, which took me a while to beat since you have to fight a red devil at the start, and every time you lose, you have to re-watch a cutscene. But once he's defeated, you can move into the level selection area. I started with Primal Man, which is just a rail level having you ride a platform for the level, shooting straight for a while until you eventually get to some spikes that don't give you much time to react to and die, causing you to have to restart the whole rail shooter again. Next, I tried Illusion Man, which was pretty cool. It had you traveling through a map while different things kept changing on you. 1-ups turned into enemies, flowers turned into spikes, and floors disappeared from under you. Enemy placement is pretty mean at times though, but that seemed to be a main issue with most of these Mega Man games. The checkpoint system in the game was probably the best out of all of the games I played though, not being stupidly bad like some games were. This one gave you some good checkpoints decently into the level. It wasn't a bad game, I just didn't get too interested into it. Next up is Megaman Revolution. The last game on the list I didn't play that long, having me play only 2 levels. The first level I tried was Sandman, which was like impossible, having enemies spawn right under your feet, making it impossible to kill them without being hit. Eventually I got further into the level, but died to a pit of spikes, giving me a game over. So I decided to move on to Badman. At first, I thought the level would be filled with explosions and stuff, but it was actually filled with speakers for some reason. And surprisingly, I actually made it to the boss, but then proceeded to get dunked on pretty hard. Badman will follow you around, dropping bombs right on your feet that instantly explode, making it almost impossible to dodge. I was barely able to get rid of half of his health on my best run before getting a game over. After the defeat, I decided to move on to the next game and come back when I felt better about it, so I hit the save button and the game crashed. Yay. After finishing crying over losing all of my save data on the last game, I moved on to Megaman Super Fighting Robots. And this game probably had the second weirdest group of robot masters to fight, giving us enemies like Wizard Man, Trash Man, Soak Man, Coal Man, Axe Man, and Dagger Man. But names don't mean anything because each of these robot masters had really colorful and well-designed levels. Wizard Man had a beautiful purple level with disappearing platforms, pits that brought you to the ceiling, flying books, and other magic enemies. Coal Man's level was filled with exploding platforms and fire, while Dagger Man's level was really sci-fi with wireframes everywhere and teleporting crystals. Trash Man just had garbage everywhere. Axe Man's level was an awesome red and gold color with red axes everywhere, and Soap Man's level actually used water effects really well. It was an all-around really good game that looked beautiful and played really well, and one I would recommend for sure. Next is another browser-based game called Kochan, which is basically a gender-swapped Mega Man and has a lot of your standard robot masters like Volcano Man, Forest Man, Jet Man, Lightning Man, and wait a minute, Hockey Man? Well, you can't get any more Canadian than that, can ya, eh? And well, this is another one of those Mega Man fan games that is actually really well done. Each level is designed very well, giving you time to see what's coming up, but still giving a challenge. It's a hard thing to do in a game, and this one does it so well. Well, besides Jetman's level, that level is a platforming hellscape. Each level, though, gives some challenge, but doesn't throw too much at you. And this was actually a game where I beat one of the robot masters, that being Rolling Man. The other levels are really good too, having you walk on light bulbs that glow when enemies attack them, outrunning an erupting volcano, outrunning a boulder Indiana Jones style, and having you fight a fridge. It's an interesting experience for sure, and you don't even have to download it, so I would say try this one out for sure. Next up is Megaman Day in the Limelight 2, which is actually a very interesting spin on the formula, allowing you to play as robot masters to take down other robot masters. It's a really cool idea that I enjoyed. I played through a few levels till I found myself getting stuck here and not being able to do anything without shutting the game down. And after that, I decided to stop playing. But I would say, don't let that stop you from trying this one. I'd say give the series a try and see what you think. I'm pretty sure there are 3 of them to pick from too. And now we're moving on to some of the very interesting games, which includes Megaman 2.5D, which has you playing Mega Man but in a much different art style, giving everything a 3D look, which looks absolutely great, and even takes this art style to the next level by using it to change camera angles while you climb a ladder or turn a corner. It's a really cool idea that was implemented very well into the game. The levels themselves, though, aren't really anything to write home about. Yeah, they all look good, but none of them stand out as a well-designed level. They all look cool due to the 2.5D look they have, but when it comes down to it, if they were regular 2D levels, they're nothing special. I wouldn't recommend this game, but as a visual experience, I would say it may be worth it. Next is the final game we will be talking about today, and I thought I should give each part a longer, more exciting game to talk about. And for this part, I decided that last game to talk about would be Mega Man Revenge of the Fallen, a giant Mega Man game that had been in the works for a long time, since 2008 to be exact. And you'll see why soon. Revenge of the Fallen includes 20 levels plus a secret level, 3 rush upgrades, 7 Mega Man upgrades, a ton of branching paths in all of the levels giving you many ways to beat them, and 3 bounty hunters that appear randomly throughout the 10 Robot Master stages. It's a massive game that is designed extremely well. The story explains that Wily has learned how to revive all the Robot Masters Mega Man has defeated, so we set off to end his plans. The intro stage eases you into the style of the game and has you fight a pretty easy and yet awesome boss in the end. After that, we get full access to the level select screen, allowing us to pick from 10 Robot Masters, including Centaur Man, Magma Man, Magnet Man, Stone Man, Spark Man, Tornado Man, Star Man, Toad Man, Pharaoh Man, and my favorite, Yamato Man. Each of these Robot Masters levels are crafted extremely well, with love in every inch of the design. It isn't no walk in the park though. A lot of these levels are still very challenging. Not cheap, but challenging, and that's something I can get behind. Out of all of the games mentioned, this is one you should try for sure. It's a love letter to classic Mega Man games, and the 6 years that have been put into making this game really show. I would say this is a fan game you cannot miss. And that is all we have time for today, sadly. But don't worry, next week I will be back with part 2 of fan-made Mega Man games, with some more stuff like Battle Network, some more cool 2D games, 3D games, and well, some special games too. So, get excited for that, and if you want to play any of the games I mentioned in today's video, don't forget to check the description below for all the links. And until then, I'll see you all in the next video. I just have to give a big thank you to my Patreon supporters, because without these guys, I would not still be making the content I am right now. So a big thank you goes out to Robler Liberty, Brad Moore, Andre Drulard, Thomas Bethel, Robert Velasco, Dominic Sharma, Martin Scutt, Corey Lemley, and the YouTubers Legend Gary and Alomarain.